with the magic of time travel.
And same shirts.
Yep, we're back. So we left the other one with the cliffhanger of the Kobe incident, whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I know, so like 6 seasons, and we haven't really touched on the elephant in the room of like conspiracy theories, right? So I was just like, okay, let's devote one episode to just lay it all out. Like what are we dealing with here, right? So like, it's gotten to the point where like, I would say for the longest, there was this potential of like, did we ever land on the moon? I don't know. Or like the JFK assassination, there's all this stuff. And then now, almost everything that happens, there's like a whole counter theory of like, I don't know, you know, looks like could be theater, could be made up, like to the point where like, all the way back to like Tupac. It's like, is he dead? Is he not? They're like, nothing is real anymore because everybody has a good chance. And if you provide, I mean, I don't know, we had the missing airplane. There's so many. There's so many. There's a whole bunch. There's not like the standard. So that's what I want. Like there's you got the let's start with like the top of the pile, right? The flat earthers, right? You got the people that are just like the earth isn't round, it's flat and all that. They're adamant, like they're not going to be convinced otherwise, right? They don't trust the data or any of it. Everything's flawed, right? They're trying to fool us. Then you got the JFK thing. I think that one really beats the moon landing. I think the moon landing is like a little bit more out there in terms of, because there's so much CBS Hollywood Studios prep. So it's like you have the studio footage where they were like preparing for it, but then they're like, well, let's say you just use that. Then there's a lot of like stuff where they're like, how do they have like live communication? I mean, this thing's like, I mean, the math, and this is like Radio Shack technology. You know, this was not digital. I don't know. So, you know, it's like some, you know, you got the camera, the wind on the, I've dug into it a little bit. You know, I'd like to believe that we did it, but if we didn't, it's really difficult whether it is or it isn't. But the JFK thing, I think there was definitely an element of a cover-up. Even the movie that they made about it had kind of tried to uncover a lot of those like questionable judgment things. More recently, the OJ trial, right? There was always like this element of the facts aren't the facts.
Right.
So my question to you is, what is the main draw for people that believe in conspiracy theories? Like is it just a distrust in information?
Yeah, I think I think you've said it past couple episodes. What do we really know?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's just really hard to tell.
What do we really know?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing we can really know for sure is that me and you are sitting here.
Yep. I know me.
All right.
And that's about it. I mean, there was an article today. They were talking about like Ukraine had done some like military attack on some like Russian commander, and they like already celebrated over the weekend that they got him, right? And then Russia never acknowledged that this happened or not.
Right.
But then today they were releasing some like military video stills of the guy supposedly still around. But the picture they showed, he's like got a pillow prop. It's totally Weekend at Bernie's. Okay. It's I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? Like
hi.
He's got his eyes closed. His lips are purple, and he's got his head on a pillow. You can't even tell if he's sitting or he's laying down, and the camera's just over him. And they're like, he's not dead. It's like, there he is right there. I'm like, that's not even convincing. That's a terrible. It's like they could have done better digital. Like, I don't know. And it's not even a video. It's like a still.
Right.
And they're like, nope, he was at work today. Dude. So even like, so then you got these guys are saying they did it. These guys are like, no, you did it. And then here we are. I'm like, I don't even know who any of these characters are. No, you can't trust any of these guys. Like, I don't know what to, like, I've unsubscribed from all of that. Like, honestly, like, it's back to, like, I don't care. It's like Somalia pirates. Like, I get it. It's like, these are modern day pirates, but it's like, just be careful if you're, you know, doing trade routes there, because they're gonna steal your stuff.
Right. Yeah, I don't.
But like, what is like some
like
of the more recent ones?
Aliens, like
The aliens, and then for the
it looks
longest
like
we
paper
thought
mache. Like I'm like,
oh my goodness, what the heck? They're like 3 inches tall. It's a figurine.
right.
I don't know. Like, and then like they wasn't it like a few months ago they like the government finally was like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and reveal. Nobody cared. It was like not even big news.
Right.
There was like footage of like things, and they tried to push it out.
I think people are getting more with what your stance is like, I don't care anymore. Like this is just this. A lot of the stuff is just getting so far out there. I just listen to some of it because I'm like, that's kind of interesting, but come on. Like, I mean.
So here's the thing. If we establish, and this is our guess, it's educational, not, it's entertainment. So if our guess is that it's just a distrust of information, the people that you don't trust can't be the ones that have to reveal it to you. You also have to then not trust. So if like the government's covering up UFOs, can't wait for the Navy to release their footage.
Well, the only reason why, to be honest with you, that why we talk this way is the both of us is because Lean Six Sigma black belts. Because it's just like one of the questions you have to question is where's the data coming from,
right? And then
if you can't prove where the data is coming from,
likelihood,
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the only reason why me and you talk this way is because it's like, well, sounds cool, but.
So analytical mindset, right?
Right. Well, and then, just like for example, I can take a spreadsheet and change what it's actually showing or a graph and show what it was like. I think Biden got caught doing that, like something like on the numbers for unemployment. And this wasn't recently. It was like when he first took over. Well, they expanded the graph out. So it actually made it look like it was growing, but it actually didn't grow, right? So there's manipulation you can do to all this stuff. So it's just I'm with you. I just listen to it for what it is, and
then there's let's kind of keep track of our like findings. So we got distrust in information. And it's not just information because you're clearly trusting some information, right? But it's like distrust in the mainstream information, like of the main information.
But you said the second element is likelihood,
right?
So if it's so far out there,
so then the question is, what are people to gain by doing this? So, like, let's say for NASA to fake a moon landing, could they do it? Yes, but the number of people that you have to keep their mouths shut in secrecy, it starts becoming like somebody would have come forward and be like, okay, look, it was a movie. It was a Hollywood studio, right?
I believe we landed there. I mean, why would we?
You got astronauts and all that stuff, right? So it's unreasonable. So then you get to the point where it's like, okay, then what's the appeal to the people that buy into it? Are like, okay, so then the question really becomes, you'd say they don't have an analytical mindset, but they also don't have like a high degree of maybe, I don't know, it's not always scientific, but it's like a way to analyze the information.
A lot of these people can't just let stuff go, right?
That's true.
And so prime example is, once again, don't take this for political whatever, but so Hillary's on a rampage again about saying it's Russia collusion. They're going to collude in this next election again. Their side proved it wrong that there was
from 16.
Right. So I'm sorry, like you were a part of that.
Right.
And now you're just saying now they're going to come back again. It's like, let it go, lady.
So let's say all the fear stuff, right? So all the fear stuff. I think what it really comes down to is population control.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Control of the masses. and the way how did
it's-
Tupac say keep their heads ringing, right?
Right.
I mean, whether it's true or not,
It's
I mean,
the
people buy
Matrix.
National
It's
Enquirer.
the Matrix all over
Yeah.
again. I mean,
People buy the trash journalism
Right.
anyway,
right.
whether they call it entertainment or they believe that it's fact. You know, the lady making the, whatever. Like, it's like, oh, I was making pasta, alienating my husband's head. You know, it's like, oh, wow, details on page 5. It's like, okay, like, if it sells magazine,
Yeah.
why not? I mean, nobody has to be accountable for that. And then we're over here like, oh, there's no journalism. There's no journalism in that. That's just publication. It's no different than romance novels and everything
I
else.
would say that journalism has changed. Right now, it's like you don't have to prove anything. Like journalists used to go into wars with whatever,
And,
and
they had to
actually come in when we
get
had our
verified sources.
right,
And the editor had to sign off on these things because they
Right.
was their neck on the line.
right.
So we can't do this. We're the Post or we're the Times or
Now
whatever.
it's just like either side can do this. Go out there and throw out a tweet, and then it's like the gospel.
Well, like it's gone to the point where, like I said, like where there's a whole section where it's just all fact check, right? It's just like nope. Okay, I like reading that better than the Inquirer, right? But at the same time, you've got stuff that comes out, regardless of who has the interest of pushing
Right.
baseless stuff out there. Then you got people that are like, really? And then they check it. Well, what do you use to check it? If the sources that you're using to validate it, you go back to when they made that Blair Witch.
Mm-hmm.
That was like 90s. Okay. Before they released the tape, they had made the articles. It was all Hollywood, right? They made the articles. They had the missing persons and all that stuff. So when people were like, this isn't real, then they went on Yahoo or whatever and they Google searched it and it came up. They're like, oh my God, these people have been missing in the woods. That was then. Wait, you don't think you could create site sources now where like it's like when people say, do your research, it's going to come up. You will validate what you're looking for.
Right.
But the question is it even real?
That
Just
mo-
because you
that movie-
validated it.
That movie got me sick, dude. I had to walk out of the theater. That was probably the only time.
I watched it at home. A buddy of mine brought the video. It's his pre-release. It was like weeks before. He came over with his backpack. He's like, dude, you got to check this out. I'm like, I didn't know what he was going to put in. Like, I'm like, I don't do like snuff or anything. I don't want anything. Like, no, it's like found footage. No, I'm like, found footage from what? It's like, no, it's just this stuff. I'm like, where'd you get it? It's like, I'm just like, what is going on? He's like, no, it's like, I got it from somebody and then we copied it. Check it out. And it's just like the whole, and didn't have like an intro or anything. It was pre-release. It was just basically the camera rolls, right? So we're watching this thing and I'm like, nah, this is not real. Like this. And I'm like, I wouldn't even stay. Like that first night where the girl was in the camp and there was like stuff going on where they found guts and I'm like, I'm out. Like I'm done. Like I'm not going to continue on this march for the whatever they were looking for, the witch. I'm out. Like, okay, this got weird. I'm out. I'm out of here. Well, maybe they were lost or whatever, but certainly. So and I'm like, it's gotta be. So then we go and search it and it's like, oh crap. Like this is like real. But so they were actors and stuff, but it's a small group, right? Didn't have anybody famous in it.
Right.
And they had sworn to, and they had said, just keep it tight for a couple of months. And then they released it.
Right.
Then they released it and it was a movie and everything, but it was like viral marketing.
Right.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, even back then, with very archaic technology, it was very easy to create the illusion of truth for something that was completely made up. That's then. That was like 20-some years ago. Wait, you don't think you could do that now? Of course you can do that now.
AI will do it.
Yeah. AI will even do it. Yeah, exactly. It'll create sources that you can go verify and they will check out.
Right.
Check mark and everything too. It's just so the question really is, if you want vaccine information to be true, you're going to find information that will satisfy your appeal for it or hatred for it.
Right.
If you want, mask information to be useful, you'll find information. They're like, no, I am right. Dang it, I'm putting double on, you know? Or if you want it to be like a complete waste of time, you're like, I knew it. It's a waste of time. So you will find what you need to continue to reaffirm your own beliefs. And I think that's what's really hard for people to compromise. It's like, or like we're facing this like government shutdown or whatever. Nobody's willing to compromise. You're stuck on your side, and everything in your power, everything in your research, everything on your camp says, no, you're right. You don't need to bow down. So then there's no reason to compromise. If you're right, you're right. To acquiesce is to give up and be wrong.
Right. Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants to be wrong. So then we just have this infighting. And to me, that's the biggest potential for failure when we can't even agree on certain basic things. Is we're not going to be united. I'm really looking for an opportunity for the country to unite on something.
What about daylight savings time?
It basically failed because it was coming up recently, and they're like, "Didn't it end?" They're like, "No, they just let it fail." But it was a few seasons ago where we talked about it. We celebrated like, "Hey, they let it fail. They didn't vote on it. They had agreement. It was like a bipartisan thing." And I was like, there we go. Democrats and Republicans.
Let that one fail, huh?
Yeah, they let that one fail too. It never got put into a vote. Nothing's changed. We're still doing it. Yeah, I was totally waiting for that to end.
Set my time
because it's fall and it's starting to get dark again. I'm like, I thought we're not going to do this anymore because it gets worse. They double it up, right? Because it's like starts getting darker even earlier.
You're right.
It's like it's naturally already happening.
Right.
I don't need 6 a.m. to be light. I don't need it.
Dang it.
Yeah. So we didn't even get that one. So, I mean, we didn't really discuss the validity. We're not here to discuss the validity. I'm just talking about what is the appeal for it.
Well, I think just so you've hit it right on the nail right on the head. It's like people want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what it is that you feel is right.
And then you find like-minded people that agree with you.
Right.
And then that only reaffirms your belief.
Whereas you and I, like politics, for instance, like you brought it up a couple of episodes again about Biden. I mean, you went one way, I went the other way. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, we're still friends. Like,
yeah.
I'm not sitting there going, oh, you were wrong. Like,
yeah. I could say I was wrong, but bottom line is this. I'm more concerned with the same showdown. I mean, they've got, I don't know, there's a debate coming up, and it's like Trump's not even going to go, and he's right. He has nothing to gain. He's leading by a lot. Like, he's 60%.
But, I mean, even there's in-house fighting within even the Republicans.
Sure.
Like, I was listening to Mike Pence, I was like, dude, just, like, at this point, you're not going to get the nominee.
You got 60, then you got 12, then everybody else in single digits. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that you even think it's possible. It's not possible.
Right.
It's only possible if, let's say, the leading candidate becomes ineligible. I guess that's the whole point of all these 90 indictments, right?
But even if that was it, Mike Pence still is not going to be the number one front runner right under him.
Correct.
So to me, it's like at some point you have to just give up and just say, hey, this isn't my time.
Yep.
Because all this is doing is just giving ammo for everything. But I agree with you. I mean, it would be nice to have different options, but I know that's not realistic because they're just all running.
On both sides. I need new options on both sides.
But
I'm totally open to like both sides and new candidates. There's nothing. I mean, this isn't a breakdown of candidates, but like there's nobody likable, nobody. Because I mean, you can't even because Biden's approval rating is so low right now, even amongst his own. So his rating's gone down even since, right? So even I'm just going to put even if he had 80 million votes, he doesn't have it anymore.
No.
Okay. So what are you going to do? If you think this is your winning horse, And now it's got broken legs. Didn't he fall off the bike and stuff? And the signs were there, man. You can't. You know what just went wrong? It's like, who's the guy from, was it Pennsylvania? The dude with the brain aneurysm or whatever? They elected him to. It's like,
Right.
and then now we got like these half-dead senators, dudes checking out, like Mitch McConnell. Like, it's just glitching, man. Like, it's like these people aren't even like alive. And we're just keeping them there. Like, how's that any different than the Russian guy, man? How's that different than Weekend at Bernie's? We're just keeping these people like, oh, he's still good. Time to go, sir.
Oh, what?
But it's always like, do you have the presentation ready? Glitch. It's like we were just having a conversation. It's like, so we're going to be on time?
He just stands there.
It's like, are you thinking about it? I don't know.
But so since you're asking about like the appeal of conspiracy theory, like let's take Mitch McConnell for instance. Let's talk about him instead of Biden. Dude, you're in your final years and you really love power this much, like you can't find, like, dude, go on a beach somewhere.
Right.
You got your millions.
You're good.
You're good. You're ready to go.
Right.
Spend the rest of your life enjoying, but they sit there till they're dead. I just don't understand it. Like, what?
I'm telling you, in corporate world, it wouldn't work. You couldn't glitch on camera at work and then not have somebody be like, hey, maybe take a leave of absence. Maybe
and they did that. They've done it at works that I've been. They had CEOs, like, one guy's in, and really cool, actually. We were looking forward to it. Got diagnosed with cancer a month after he took over the CEO position, and then he was like, out.
Right. He has to go deal with that.
Right.
And what that means is you can't, with any degree of responsibility and service to community, take on that duty while you have personal care to deal with.
Right. I don't understand the appeal of just having the power. Damn the power. If I'm a multimillionaire, like I don't need it anymore.
Right.
What do you need it for?
So yeah, we talked about the politics portion of it. It's like if they had no ability to make personal gains, because we did that with like college football for years, right? We're like, okay, while you're in college, you can't earn,
but now they're
nothing.
giving,
Now they're letting them have
Sanders. Yeah, Sanders' kids are getting multi-million-dollar contracts.
Then the reason for all that was to make sure that there's nothing shady going on. Well, how do you cover, like, because it's so easy to cover shadiness with just deals.
Right.
I mean, we had coaches that got fired for recruiting violations because they got people like Ford Explorers, and they're like, that family can't afford 3 Ford Explorers. That came from somewhere.
Well, Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, what do you know about gas? A gas company. What are you contracting in there for? Mm-hmm. It was all influence, whether people want to believe it or not.
But we put away mobsters for stuff like this.
Right. But this is coming back to the country you came from. It's like everybody calls it a banana republic. I still don't know what that means, but
when there's corruption,
right?
When there's corruption, I had a coworker of mine for his birthday. He's going to Mexico, and like a lot of his buddies are trying to do all these like ventures and excursions. I'm like, y'all just can't just go take an Uber in Mexico because those guys are in with the cops and the cartels. Like, they'll take you somewhere and somebody comes to take you down, and then you want to call the cops. The cops are part of it too.
Right.
You got to pay everybody off so they can let you live. Otherwise, it's easier for them to make you disappear.
Right.
So it's like you got to stick with the stuff that's sponsored by the hotel and like pick you up. Like, don't just go out venturing.
No.
Because it's just what you're thinking.
Me and my buddy went and rented a car and all this other. I'm like, and then. So he went and rented a car. He said that he got, he paid for private security to get from the rental car place to the airport. Mm-hmm. And both the driver and the passenger guy, both were ready to go. Like the one passenger guy's like looking around. Mm-hmm. He's got his hand on a gun.
Right. So that's the environment.
Right.
And so when you send aid to Haiti or Puerto Rico and things like that, there's corruption.
Mm-hmm.
It's not getting to the people.
No.
The people that are in charge are stealing. You know, this happens all over the world.
Right.
And then we're like, oh, we're like so immune to it. Oh, it happens here too. It's happening here too. We're not immune to it.
Like I was talking to another guy this past weekend at a swim meet, and he's a fan of Broken Bow. Like he wants to build a house up there, and then he's a guy that's got a lot of businesses going on. But like one of them was like he's talking to the city up there to build an ER because the closest hospital from even the lake is like 20 minutes away.
That's a great idea.
Right. So, but there's a restaurant up there that's on the lake because he's trying to make a deal where he can be off the main strip and also have a sub station on the lake. So if something were to happen on the lake, like they got close,
sub it out from them. Yeah.
Well, this restaurant, they have like prime real estate, all this stuff. And he's saying like, he goes, what happened to it? Because he's like, I used to go there and it was like great food and all that. Well, found out that they were laundering money through it. So the state came in and shut it down. I mean, it's just like this stuff is happening whether you want to believe it or not.
Yep. You're not immune to it. And that's the one thing that with all the public infighting and exposing corruption and all that stuff, what it really does is we were an example for democracy and the right way to live and, you know, all that stuff. And now we're just kind of creating a mockery of ourselves.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then we want to go somewhere. We're like, hey, we're going to make our system over here. They're like, go fix it over there first.
Right.
To the point where, like, when we're out there, like, trying to free these countries, they don't want it.
Right.
And we're like, what the heck? Why don't they want it? Because the corruption that was there, the people are used to it. That's no different than the children of Israel wanting to go back to Egypt.
But this is the problem. Like, even I would say that same statement you did is just like, hey, like it's noise. Like, I'm not interested in hearing it anymore. And now I get complacent in it. And then we're just no different than those people because at the end of it, it's like you're just used to it.
So in the 80s, everybody knew about Gaddafi, okay, and Saddam. These are, you know, cruel dictators and all that. Then we go and free the people and topple these regimes. And guess what? Chaos ensues. And now the people that we freed hate us because they're like, we destroyed their system because that was our dictator, even though it was bad, but it was functional. Now we have chaos and it's your fault. So what we call freedom, they call chaos. And we're saying, you're welcome. And they're like, screw you. And that's how you end up gaining enemies that you don't even need.
Well, and they didn't even, like, we did 20 years of training with them to get them to set up their own stuff, and it crumbled in less than a day.
Right. We don't really
I don't know. Allies. I don't necessarily think, because I talked to Army guy when was it? Saturday. And he just came back from Kuwait. And he's like, they just gone back to normal.
They've gone back to what they know.
But they don't, he goes, I go, you have any problems there? He goes, no.
But all these billions that we spent, all this lives that we risked and lost, and to go and Operation Iraqi Freedom, Desert Storm, all this stuff, right? For what? We didn't get the cheap oil. We didn't free them.
Right.
They just and they don't consider themselves our friends and allies or our we are like their protector. We don't have their back. They don't have ours.
Right.
In fact,
not now.
Certainly. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's not strategic. It's not like, okay, we have to go do that, so we have a base there.
Right.
It's just not. And then they don't even talk about like all like the Far East stuff. between, China and all this other stuff, Taiwan and Laos, and just, I don't even know. Like, I think, between Korea and Vietnam, I think those are like 2 failed wars.
Right.
And like, we're not going to go back.
No.
We're like, okay, none of that. But, I think the reason, China has gone as big as it's gone is because we didn't really get to do what we wanted to do there.
Mm-hmm.
If we had a stronghold there and we had created allies, then I don't think you would have had a superpower over there the way you do. But it didn't work. So that's basically it. Is like, I think our view as Americans is very much like America first, but globally speaking, we're first in like basketball and like
I don't even know
kicking
that.
butt.
Right.
Well, yeah, but we're not first in education. We're not first in life. We're first in defense.
Mm-hmm.
We spend more money on our national defense than the next 26 countries, 25 of which are our allies. So it doesn't even make sense. Like, the next 25 countries combined, we outspend them, and most of them are our allies. So then it's like,
well,
okay.
a lot of them we're just giving all the money to.
Right.
It's not even for our defense.
Yeah. So that's where all the, tax dollars or whatever, it's not like spent on local roads and teachers, and it's not here. It's for something completely different. And it really isn't working. It's not improving our national or international stance.
Right. But it all comes back down to, yes, Biden's my president, so everybody knows. I'll say it.
He's
my
the
president.
current president.
And at the end of the day, when you don't have a strong leader, we're just looking weak, which we are.
I think we're putting too much on the position of the presidency. It really is a token. Like, for example, a head coach of a football game, right?
Yeah,
yes, you're there as the leader, and it matters if you have a 4-12 season. But the people that are running the plays, the president's not the quarterback. The president's not the
he's the one he's the one in the limelight. And so when that looks weak,
right.
You're weak.
When you're calling 4th and 18.
Look at Deion Sanders is a perfect example.
Right.
Everybody's worried about him because he's confident.
Right.
And then I was talking to another guy. He's like, "Oh, I hate him." I'm like, "Why do you hate him?" He goes, he does this. And I was like, "No, that's just you're not confident enough in yourself. So you see that and you don't like it."
Right. But I think more than confidence, he has Godfidence.
Right.
I think there's been every opportunity.
But that's a strong
leader. Right. And he's instilling the right leadership in those kids.
Right.
And followable excellence. He's speaking from experience. He's not doing something he's never done before.
Right.
This is his thing. And he's devoted a long time. I mean, followed his kids, after his retirement, and when did the high school, and took him to Jackson, then from there to Colorado. So I mean, this is his program, and it's also his kids. It's following his legacy. It's not about him, really. He's kind of passing it on to the next generation. So, same with that other series, God Family Football.
Right.
I mean, it's important that it's not about the scoreboard and it's not about winning games, but it's like you have an opportunity to impact lives.
Right.
So our lives as humans, we have a super long gestational period, and then our babies are completely helpless for a stupid long time. They're dependent on us,
right?
Whether it's 14, 16, 18, 25 years. And then we live, compared to other, living things, extended long time, mainly because of the technology and the resources that we have. If we were just out in the wild, I don't know, people would make it past 40. Someone's going to get you.
Right.
So we've got hygiene, we've got shelter, we've got medicine. So it extends our lifetime to the point where you glitch out, you've gone too long, right? Well, when you have that situation, you've created almost like an imbalance where like naturally things would have worked themselves out. But like we're now kind of keeping the strong and the weak alike.
Right.
Whereas like naturally wouldn't have happened. I don't
Right.
think naturally. I mean, if you go back like maybe 100 years ago, there was a thing called infant mortality rate. Like somebody was like weak or had a bad immune system, things like that. They wouldn't make it past 3.
Right.
Well, now we go and like shove them into like machines and all that stuff. And like, oh, you're going to make it. And that's great. We've saved that life. But it's like, what's the life likelihood and like the experiences of this person
Right.
as a teenager, as a 40-year-old, as like an active community member? And then vice versa, when you have people that are like, when you have a system that generates, you know, billionaires and opioid addicts simultaneously.
Right.
We have food that's being wasted and we have hunger.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not the system. It's really not the system. It's not like, oh, we have a shortage of grain. No, we have more grain than we could do anything with.
Yeah.
So on paper, there shouldn't be hungry people. But it happens. And the reason it happens, it's not because of the system. It's because we're not managing it properly because we're trying to like save everybody.
Right.
I was trying to explain the idea of government bailout because we saw a car on the way to school, and I said, yeah, that was during the GM bailout, and GM, and Matthew was like, well, what do you mean bailout? And like the government had to step in, save banks, save General Motors, save insurance companies because they were too big to fail. And so it was just, I gave them money. I'm like, yeah, but then they had to like come out of bankruptcy and out of conservatorship, and they had to kind of like lay down, and they just kind of shed some of their brands and kept some of the other brands. But it's like, we did that, but it's like, it's very selective. It's very selective. Something is too big to fail, yet we let other things collapse.
Yep.
It's not like we have this like savior mentality. Save everything. Nope.
But then, or it still fails. Like, I
course.
believe, like, we
Of
built
course.
out, like, Fisker, right?
Yep.
Build out Fisker, and now they're, like, failing again. And it's like...
Right. Without proper rehabilitation, the likelihood of someone who gets out of the penal system to get right back into the correctional system is high.
I was...
So if you rehabilitate them, educate them, and provide an environment for success, yes. But if you just bail someone out and say, okay, good luck, well, in 2 months, they're going to be right back in the same problem.
Yeah. I was reading an article, speaking of Fisker, I was reading an article. I didn't get to read which brand it was, but it looked like they were getting out of an electric vehicle. And
They're getting out of it?
Yeah, I think it was in Japan somewhere, one of the Japan makers.
Saying, like, we're not going to do it? Yeah. There's I know there's not, they keep pushing, but there's not as much of an urgency. I sent you that thing about like the amount of like carbon waste.
Yeah.
It's not green.
No.
The battery technology is not
It would
green.
take,
the charging technology.
I think they said what, like 15 years to even recuperate what it costs to, or the impact on the environment before you even made up by zero emissions.
It's all McDonald's, man.
But that, like I said before, it's like my friend, he works for TI. I mean, they got arsenic and all this stuff they're throwing in their incinerator, and it's going right up into like that. All that stuff ain't burning off.
No,
It's going right into the atmosphere.
Yeah. So the whole green energy and green movement and just
And I'm for
push
it.
EV
I'm for
as an option, but not
all right.
like, oh, we're running out of oil. We're not running out of oil.
But we ain't running out of oil.
And the combustion engines that we have right now are like some of the best that we've ever had.
Right.
And it's not going away. It just isn't going away. Not at the speed, like pushing to get it done by 2030 or anything like that. Like we could stay with the technology that we have, supplement it with electric, but not as a full replacement. There's absolutely no need.
But I feel like we need to start looking at like old ways, bring some of the old back. like nuclear power.
Mm-hmm.
There's been so far more advancement within nuclear power that makes it so much safer.
Well, it's selective. So same day, article was talking about in California, they're considering charging up nuclear stuff to power AI. It's like, oh, that's interesting. For AI, you're willing to do it.
Right.
But not as an alternative to all this like forest fire with electricity. It's
right.
like, okay, like the infrastructure that keeps burning left and right, that doesn't push you to go to like nuclear. But then it's like, oh, to power AI, it's like, oh, we're going to have to do that. and it's going to get like, oh, yeah, done. So it's very selective. I think that's the part.
But I think that this is what I hate about, once again, it doesn't matter what side. It's like, so now they say nuclear power because of AI. They'll bring that in. But we all know that what it's for is because the grid in California can't handle what's going on.
Correct.
So it's just like it just sneaks its way back in.
Yep. Yeah.
And we get to pay for it.
Yep. Exactly. And if it's bad, it's bad regardless. Like, what about the children? It could fuel hospitals. It's like, well, if it was bad, then it's bad. If it's good, then let's fuel it up and let's turn on all the lights.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's got it. And I was watching something. I forget one of the Ivy League schools has like a program with it, but they were talking about like they weren't using it for anything, to be honest with you, just studies, but like they were showing like a nuclear rod and they're doing different stuff with it. It's like, they're like, even the kids are like, it's safer than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what the studies they've been doing on it and how it reacts. And I'm just sitting there on. But then they are interviewing a guy in the past that used to, like, when they had to go change those rods. Mm-hmm. I mean, you couldn't even he goes, I couldn't even get insurance. And he goes, I probably got cancer all over my body because they'd have to go to the exposure of it.
Right.
Because they're diving into that water and changing.
Maybe he had to wear a mask.
Face mask.
The mask inside the water, yeah. I got gloves. I'm good. My kneecaps are glowing, but I'm good. I could flubber. I could jump 50 feet.
But even the kids were like, you don't need to do that stuff anymore. We just didn't know.
Right.
We didn't know any better.
I remember we were doing the hydrogen bomb blast in the desert, and there were people just sitting there watching it with like the glasses, right? And then they just get the wind. Wow, that was
breathe that in.
that was intense. I had these weird dots on my back.
I got a third spine.
Yeah. There's a lake growing in my armpit. Wasn't there before. Pre-blast. It wasn't there pre-blast. So I think we had to give it an extended episode to talk about it. We uncovered a lot for the last 50 or 100 years, but I just wanted to kind of put it out there. You heard our take on it. I'm not validating any one of them or anything. I'm not giving it any talking point. There's a reason
why it's called a conspiracy theory.
But, if you like to chew on that jerky, it's tasty, it's chewy, it's not any better than the other one. So just understand it's all McDonald's.
It's all McDonald's.
Yeah. Enjoy. Peace.
Peace.